Good afternoon. Welcome everybody to this first meeting of the European Alliance for Apprenticeship this year. I hope you will enjoy this meeting. My name is Norbert Schöbel. I work at the European Commission, and I'm happy to guide you today through our agenda. We have about 1.5 hours, and I hope that the program is interesting for you. The agenda of today looks as follows. We will mainly try to show you the action plan of this year. We will then talk about the awards, which are very important, which we would like to present during the European Vocational Skills Week in May. Then we will go directly into the network and activities planned for this year. And we thought that instead of talking ourselves, we have invited very interesting guest speakers today, which will join us and complement our session from their perspective and how they contribute to the success of the European Alliance for Apprenticeships. And then, of course, before we end, we have some closing words. I would just say a few words about the priorities. As you know, the European Alliance for Apprenticeship exists since 2013. Hard to believe. Next year, it's already 10 years. So I think there is some celebration needed. And in addition to the 4 objectives which you have set in 2013 on supply, quality, image, and mobility, we have identified in 2020 6 priorities, which we call it the relaunch of the European Alliance for Apprenticeship in 2020 with Commissioner Schmidt, also to contribute to the COVID crisis and see where we can even be stronger. The first priority is on quality and effective apprenticeship, but not only. We also try to identify and to better network among national apprenticeship coalitions or alliances or networks which exist, because there are a lot of things happening at national level. So that was for us very important. Then, of course, no way apprenticeship without the contribution of SMEs and the intermediate body supporting SMEs. We will not have a good, not enough supply and not quality apprenticeship enough. So we need the SMEs. We also need, and that is the third priority, the regions and the local authorities and the cities. That's why we did quite a lot last year, particularly, and we come back to that. And then from the very beginning, we had the social partners being, I would say, co-host of the initial event when we started in 2013. And the European Alliance for Apprenticeship would not exist without the help of the social partners. That's why the social dialogue and the social partners are key. But we should not also forget the sectoral dimension. That's why today we have also very important players from sectoral social partners. And last but not least, I'm always a bit sad that it comes at the end, but what really counts for me, we cannot only listen to the needs of employers, but we also need to listen to the learners themselves, so the apprentices. And today we also have a representative of the European Apprentice Network with us to explain a little bit their view and what we are planning this year. I think that's it for the moment. And I would now like to give the floor to my colleague, whose name is Bilal. He is a national expert in professional training currently with us, working with us coming from Turkey. And he will say a few words about the ongoing awards we have launched. Bilal, the floor is yours.
And thank you, Norbert, and hello everyone. And my name is Bilal Balcı, and I am working at DG Employment as a national expert and like a trainee. And today I will give you general informations about the EAfA Awards 2022. And let's start with the first slide. and with the aim. And the EAfA Award initiated in 2016, and the aim of the EAfA Award is to allow the members of the audience to showcase best practices. In this process, we give high importance to the four objectives of the EAfA, which Norbert mentioned in his presentation, and quality, supply, image, and mobility in apprenticeship. And after the aim, what about the categories? And this year, we want to give two awards to our nominees. One is to the companies, and one is to the apprentices. For the companies, we will distinguish between big enterprises and SMEs. And while big companies must be member of the EAfA, SMEs can be suggested by EAfA members, but themselves do not need to be part of the EAfA. For example, the SMEs can be part of an umbrella organization, and this umbrella organization is a member of EAfA, and so this SME can be nominee for the awards. And we have four areas of the focus, and these areas we have four areas to focus on for apprenticeship: quality, supply, image, and mobility of apprenticeship. And next slide, please. Okay, and I want to tell you about the submission process, how to make it a submission. And applicants can make their submission via an online form. But before filling in the form, we recommend to you should read the eligibility criteria, which is mentioned in EAfA call for proposal. And the application form is user friendly and very short. It is very easy to fill it and make your application, and you can demonstrate your application in between 1,000 to 5,000 words. And thanks to this, we hope to receive many applications before this easy submission process. And if you have any questions about the form or related to the awards, you can reach us via email, which you can find in the form, in application form. And for the selection procedure, first of all, the European Commission will set up and chair a selection board, which is composed of representatives from the different EAfA stakeholder groups. And this selection board will identify the nominees. And after this selection, online voting will start. And the winner will be determined by the votes from the selection board and online public voting. And the last thing is timeline. As you know, the application period has already started, and it will run until 18th of the February. On 1st of the April, we will publish the nominees and start to the online voting, which will last until 15th of the May. The 2022 award winner will be selected through a mix of votes from the selection board and the online voting, as I mentioned before. And we will announce the winners on 18th of the May during the award ceremony as a part of Commission event for the European Vocational Skills Week, which will occur in Brussels. And before I finish my words, I want to mention that because of the COVID, last year we couldn't organize EAfA Awards, and also EAfA Awards ceremony. And because of this reason, we are very enthusiastic for this year awards ceremony. And for this year awards ceremony, will take place in Brussels, and we are looking forward for your applications and invite to the winners in Brussels. And thank you for your attention. And
Thank
I
you,
will finish
Bilal.
my words.
Yes, thank you a lot. And I think we all got your message. Please take part. And I think it was also clear from you, all our members get support if they have questions or doubts with the application form. But I think it's not too complicated. It takes a few minutes, but it will at the end be rewarding for your company, for your apprentices, because it is quite a special ceremony at the end to get a European trophy. Now let's move on. Thanks a lot. And I have now the pleasure to invite the director of ECORIS, Vicky Donlevy from, I don't know where you sit, but not in Brussels. And I'm really happy because with all the support we get from you, I think we really make a difference. And so I am very happy to see you, first of all. And if you can a bit better explain to our audience now what are our plans for this year, because actually we're quite ambitious, no?
Thank you very much, Norbert, for those kind words. And it is indeed my pleasure to present briefly this afternoon a brief overview of the European Alliance for Apprenticeships, and then go indeed into a little bit more detail about the services which support the activities of the EAfA, which are provided by the Apprenticeship Support Services, of which I'm the director, a very large team of people obviously supporting that. So next slide, please. Firstly, so a brief overview of the European Alliance for Apprenticeships. So the Alliance is a multi-stakeholder platform for sharing experiences between the members and learning from best practices. Its key aims, as you've heard in the last two presentations, are to strengthen the quality, the supply, and the image or the attractiveness of apprenticeships, as well as promoting the mobility of apprentices. Who can join the Alliance? So it is open to stakeholders working in the field of apprenticeships in all the EU, EFTA and candidate countries, and is also open to stakeholders in the EAfA partner countries, Moldova and Israel. And in terms of who the types of members which are at present, so there are 367 members at the moment of EAfA, and those include the biggest group actually of members at the moment are businesses and companies. So that includes large companies, but also a large number of SMEs. The second largest group are the education and training providers group. And the third largest is social partners, but there is also very good representation from other types of stakeholders. So that includes chambers of industry, commerce and crafts, youth and non-profit organizations, regional and local authorities, professional bodies and networks, research institutes and think tanks. Next slide, please. So as promised, I will spend the rest of the presentation going into a bit more detail about the apprenticeship support services. So the services were set up to support the activities of EAfA and has two main aims. Firstly, to improve the quality and effectiveness of apprenticeships across the EU by supporting the different actors. And secondly, providing tailored support to stakeholders involved in delivering apprenticeships. Next slide, please. So in a bit more detail, what kind of support do we provide through the apprenticeship support services? The aim is to strengthen the European apprenticeship community and support the member states and different stakeholders in improving their apprenticeship schemes. And this is delivered essentially through three pillars. The first of those pillars is the knowledge sharing pillar. You'll hear quite a bit more about this in the rest of my presentation. So here it's about sharing knowledge around apprenticeships and what's being done. And here we have, for example, and we'll see some examples shortly, the webinars, the live discussions, online training modules, podcasts, and there are also resources online in the online library. And all of this, we'll again come to this later in the presentation, can be found on the EAfA Activities Hub, which is on the DG Employment EAfA website, where you can explore all these activities. So not only what's coming up, but also the activities that we've been delivering since the services started back in 2018. So you can catch up on all that knowledge which exists since then. The second pillar that exists is the networking pillar. So this includes events. So events, of course, which can be in-person events when circumstances allow, and we're hoping that will be again very soon, but also online events and hybrid events, which are a mix of online participants and also participants who are in person. There's also online networking. So we have a very successful LinkedIn group, which has something like 2,750 members in the group at the moment, which we'd very much welcome you all to join. There's also, we provide a newsletter to EAfA members, which gives a real snapshot of all the activities going on under the services, key information on apprenticeships throughout Europe, key policy updates, and so on. And there's also the mailing list, so we can send out updates, invitations, invitation to any of the events and activities which are going on. And our third pillar is the bench learning pillar. So under this pillar, we deliver tailored support to member states depending on their needs, and very much with a focus on mutual learning. We spoke earlier about the importance of sharing best practices. So this pillar allows us to address the needs of member states, but by building on the good practices and the learning from other member states. Thank you. Next slide. So the type of support which we provide through all of these activities are firstly providing networking opportunities. So that's through participating in the different events, participating in the LinkedIn group, and so on. We also have a database of contacts of all the EAfA members, which can of course be searched. You may have seen on the website, I hope if you haven't, you will go soon. There's, for example, a map of Europe with all the pledges on there, so you can link up with partners within your own country or in other countries within the EAfA. The second type of support is promoting events. So, of course, the apprenticeship support services carry out events of their own, but we also have a role in promoting the events, the activities, the new tools that are brought out by the members of EAfA. So we can be your promotion tool as well. Thirdly, the aim is also to help our members develop new ideas and activities. So through participating in activities, through being inspired by the resources we provide, through hearing what others are doing in different countries, in different organizations, in similar organizations, inspiring new ideas. And finally, providing access to all the latest news and tools on apprenticeship. So would really invite you to join, if you're not already a member, to take advantage of all these benefits which are out there for you free of charge. So if you are interested to join the Alliance, there is an application form which is on the EAfA website, which is on the European Commission website. I think colleagues will be sharing that link with you. And you simply need to complete the application form and return that by email. Next slide, please. So, we've been providing services, as we said, since the end of 2018, and all the time we're looking to refresh our offer, listen to the members, and see what we can offer, which can offer more support or offer support in a different way to the members of EAfA. and the wider community of the apprenticeship providers. So what's new this year? We'll see in a moment a little bit more on the calendar what's being offered in general. This is what's new. We did a EAfA member survey every 2 years since the Apprenticeship Support Services existed. We will now be doing that on an annual basis. Secondly, in terms of means of reaching out, as I mentioned before, we've had the live discussions, the webinars. These all continue and are still very popular. However, we've also heard that podcasts could be another interesting form of dissemination and communication, which can appeal to several of the stakeholders. So this year we are producing 4 podcasts this year, which will allow members to download the podcasts and to listen to them whenever is most convenient for them. And in fact, we are recording tomorrow the first of those podcasts with Commissioner Schmidt. So the first of those will be ready very soon, all being well. We're also introducing further interactive online networking this year, so should be using new means to do this beyond the already existing LinkedIn group, of course. And info sessions. So this is, of course, an info session. We piloted these sessions last year with success. And so these will become a more regular occurrence to reach out to new members, to provide information to existing members, and hopefully widen further the membership of EAfA and the users of the apprenticeship support services. In that line, we're also strengthening dissemination a bit more widely. So the info sessions, as mentioned, the podcasts, networking activities. So really reaching out as we've reached a lot of maturity, have an awful lot to disseminate now, having developed a lot of tools, a lot of activities over the last 3 years. And of course, while seeking, as I said, to resume some of the in-person events, hopefully this year, we will, of course, continue to deliver online activities to ensure that we keep sharing experiences, we keep learning about new areas in the field of apprenticeships, and also, where we can, moving to hybrid events, which, as I said before, combine the online and in-person elements. Thank you. Next slide. So a brief overview of the activities which will be taking place this year. I will go into a little bit more detail on the next slide. But on this slide, you can see that there will be 13 online activities. So that's the 4 podcasts, the 2 webinars, the 3 live discussions, 2 new training modules. There are already 7 which are online, and 2 information sessions. All being well, there will also be 4 in-person or hybrid events, which is 1 get-together event, 1 seminar, and 2 high-level events. We'll see that in a bit more detail on the next slide. Thank you. So in terms of the calendar of activities, you have all this, of course, online on the EAfA Activities Hub, so you can see this detail, but just perhaps to run over some of the highlights for this year. So there will be, as I mentioned before, the 4 podcasts, so you can see those, the first of those indicated in January. So these will be focusing on the 4 objectives of EAfA, which have been mentioned. So the first one on supply, the second one in March on mobility, the third one in September on attractiveness or image of apprenticeships, and the final one in December looking at quality and effectiveness of apprenticeships. There will also be 2 webinars. So the first of those is already taking place in February, looking at the issue of permeability. There will also be 3 live discussions. So the first of those will be taking place in April with a particularly interesting focus on assistive technologies and accessible digital learning environment for people with disabilities around, of course, apprenticeships. Then also, as mentioned, 2 new online training modules. So as you can see, the first one is scheduled to come out in May of this year. So focusing on green apprenticeships in particular, and the next one in November on communicating apprenticeships. So just some of the highlights, but you have, of course, all that detail on the EAfA website. So next slide, please. So finally, in terms of joining the activities, we very much hope that everyone listening today will take the time to explore some of these activities, and which are available, many of them for non-members, but also members of EAfA, through the Activities Hub and other pages, which are available on the EAfA website. So I'd really recommend that you go onto that Activities Hub, where you can find the, as I said, the detailed calendar for 2022, the online library, which has really a multiplicity of resources from across Europe, from the European level, from the international level, around apprenticeships, in which you can search. It has all the webinars, as I mentioned, all the webinars which have taken place up to now. You can still access them and download them. So if there are particular topics you're interested in, you can zoom in on those and share those with colleagues. All the online training modules, already 7, which are on the Activities Hub, with 2 more to come this year. The live discussions as well. And of course, you can, within that, there is a search facility, so which allows you to search the activities which you're most interested on, based on the particular type of activity, based on the EAfA priority or the EAfA objective, and also a general keyword search. So this concludes what I wanted to say today. It was, of course, a brief whistle-stop tour of all the activities, but I really would encourage you to go onto the EAfA website and the Activity Hub, explore those activities. If you're not a member, look into joining the EAfA and signing up so you get all the full benefits and join in our activities. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you later on in the year, hopefully in these activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky, so much, and quite impressive. Are you sure that we have asked you to do all this for us? I think, well, we don't do it. We just do it for our members. That's mainly why we're quite ambitious this year. And you're the director of ECORIS, but I want to take the opportunity to thank the whole team behind the scenes today. Sandra, Manuel doing a great job, but also many others which come in for each and individual meeting we organize, but not also on the communication and so on. So thanks a lot for all your support. And we're really happy and looking forward to all these activities. And of course, for those who listen to us now, these are offers for you. You pick where you think which is the most interesting for you. But the offer is there, and apprenticeship are high on the political agenda. We just had a meeting with the French presidency, one of the first, on the mobility of apprentices. So you see, the French presidency gives a lot of importance to the topics we discuss here as well. Thanks a lot, Vicky. And now we move on and we go through the 6 priorities, if you allow me. And for each of the priority, we have a guest speaker. We start with priority number 1, which is on quality and effective apprenticeships, and including the role of national apprenticeship coalitions, or, as I said, networks, or in this case, we have Anu Hapasalo from Finland. And I'm really happy to have you, because Finland is, I think, one of the most exciting VET systems in Europe, the most, I think, innovative systems. And you, Anna, you're the vice chairman of the association, National Association of Apprenticeship Experts in Finland. So I give the floor to you now, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you, Norbert. And good afternoon, everyone. And a big thank you for having me in this wonderful event. I have promised to tell you something about what's going on in Finland in the fields of apprenticeship training, and I'm representing my association. So maybe we'll take the first slide there. Okay, thank you. So my name is Anu Haapasalo. I'm working as a director of customer relations at the Federation of Education in Central Ostrobothnia. It's a quite large site vocational education center in the western parts of Finland. And here today, I'm presenting the Association of Apprenticeship Experts in Finland. And as Norbert said, I'm the vice chairman. I have been working about 16 years with apprenticeship training, and here are something about our association and how we do it here in Finland. The Association of Apprenticeship Experts in Finland consists of individual members and also as well as organizational vocational training providers. We have long history developing the apprenticeship training in Finland. We do it in a cooperation with vocational education centers and Ministry of Education and so on. The primary purpose of our association is to develop the quality and the accessibility of vocational education, especially the apprenticeship training, of course. We try to develop the competence concerning apprenticeship training for all those organizations and people who are involved with this apprenticeship training in Finland. We also track legislation and other norms in Finland, and we submit motions, proposals, statements, and so on regarding this legislation. This is because I think it's very important that experts of apprenticeship training work very closely with the Ministry of Education. Our association joined the Alliance for Apprenticeships in 2018, and here's a picture of that day when we signed the membership. Next slide, please. So here are some key figures about Finnish apprenticeship training. These are the 2020 numbers. So these are not the vocational education numbers, but only the apprenticeships in Finland. 2020 was a little bit a difficult year. I think we all know why. And there was about 57,400 students studying as apprentices. 42% of them were men and 58 women. Most of them were completing their whole degree with apprenticeship training, about 93%. I have a small short video about Finnish vocational education here, but I believe it would be great if you could share the link in the chat. So we'll take the next slide here and save some time. So apprenticeship training in Finland. I think that Finnish apprenticeship training meets quite well the 14 criteria in the European Commission's European Framework for Quality and Effective Apprenticeships. This is something that we want to focus on anyway, and I think it's also continuous work that we try to do with our association. We are very committed to enhancing the quality of apprenticeship training and to monitor the development in Europe. Through this European Alliance for Apprenticeships, I think we get good glimpse of what's happening in the rest of Europe, and this is something that we are very grateful for. In Finland, 2017, the apprenticeship students were mainly adults, but after the 2018 big education reform, there have been become more apprenticeships for young people also, and this is something that we are very happy about. I think the apprenticeship is a very convenient way of completing a vocational upper secondary qualifications and vocational further education and training. And I think one of the biggest challenges that Finland is facing concerning apprenticeship training and vocational education in general is that Finland is suffering from labor shortage. Our companies and businesses are doing quite well. Everything is developing and growing, but there are big shortage of labor. So this is something that we try to help with apprenticeships. The use of apprenticeships are increasing, that's for sure, and we use it as a recruitment-focused form of education. We educate career changers because it's very important that we get quick new education for those who want to change their jobs. We also guarantee the know-how for migrant workers. Next slide, please. So some words about our association joining the alliance. Our association joined this European Alliance for Apprenticeships because we highly value the cooperation with the European network that promotes the quality and accessibility of apprenticeship training. EAfA provides our association a glimpse of the best practices regarding apprenticeship in other EU countries. And there have been many of the great ideas that we have had in these years since we joined. Through this alliance, we have also found new international project partners, and I think that our associates can warmly recommend this alliance for everyone who is interested in promoting matters regarding apprenticeship training. Next slide, please. So this was my presentation, and I thank you for your attention. Here are my contact details if you want to contact me later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. That was extremely interesting, I think, for all of us. And I can tell to the audience, I didn't pay you to say all these positive words about the European Alliance for Apprenticeship. No, I think many thanks also for choosing the nice picture at the beginning. And yes, I think for not only in Finland, but for many of us, it was a difficult year. What I also find interesting is that you moved, as you said, from the adults to the young people, while many other countries now going in the other direction. They have mainly young people, and they also try now to make it attractive for adults. So I think there's a lot of exchange, and we can learn a lot from your experience, but also the other way around. So I think thanks a lot, and thank you for having joined us today, and also even offering your email and contact details for those who would like to hear more from you or have other questions. Now, if I may just show you a bit on this priority one, which we have mentioned in the next slide, what activities are directly linked. I would just mention that last year we celebrated the 3 years of the European Framework for Quality and Effective Apprenticeships together with the ILO, where we talked about apprenticeship. And in this big event, we also had a session on these national alliances and networks. But this year we will have quite a lot on supply, the podcast, which was mentioned by Vicky a while ago, which will be registered tomorrow, by the way. A webinar coming up pretty soon on apprenticeship permeability. And then the one event which we had to postpone from last year, the joint European Alliance for Apprenticeship event, which we organized with the great support of the European Training Foundation on the regional seminar with candidate countries. And lately we also have partner countries like Israel and Moldova having joined the Alliance, and another podcast in December. So that's on priority 1. Let's move on to priority number 2. And this is about SMEs. And I'm very happy today to have to present you Silvia Miro. She's the director of Pimac. You will better explain what it's about, but I'm sure it's about small and medium-sized enterprises. And if I'm not wrong, you are from Catalonia, one of important regions, I would say, from Spain. And in Spain, a lot has been moved the last years, and it's a really dynamic country when it comes to apprenticeship. So, Silvia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Norbert. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank EAfA for the invitation to participate in this webinar. It's a pleasure for Pimac to be able to share our actions and ideas in this regard. Pimac is the social partner who represents SMEs and self-employed in Catalonia. We participate on over 600 governing and managing boards and work with the public administrations and the most representative social agents, trade unions and employer organizations in Catalonia, which are 4. And take an active role in training and employment policies to be designed as a lever to promote employment and development of the competitiveness of SMEs. The main business sector in Catalonia, since they account more than 99% of the total number of companies and 70% of the jobs of the employment in our country. I want to highlight that improved training and specifically that is one of our priorities, and especially apprenticeship training or a dual BET system, because we consider that it's a tool that a very good tool that can contribute to solve the problem of the mismatch between people's skills or qualification level and labor qualification needs. Nowadays, only 1% of total Catalan companies are participating in apprenticeship training in dual BET, and the weight is concentrated between mainly medium and big companies, big-size companies, more or less 80%. And the remaining are small and micro companies, which at the same time are more than 96% of companies in Catalonia. 2 years ago, before COVID, Pimac, we conducted a study on what motivates SMEs to participate in different apprenticeship training. And it's clearly seen that the main reason is the possibility of training in the skills required by companies. This is 81% of companies who participate in this study. The next reason is to seek apprentices and train and hire future qualified workers. 76 of companies, of SMEs, in fact, more than 70% of BET students of apprenticeships who participate in Catalonia are hired when they finish their studies. On the other hand, approximately half of the SMEs indicated that participating in apprenticeship training can reinforce the training culture of the company. And in the same study, we also ask about what are the main reasons why SMEs do not participate, which is mainly SMEs. And the main reason have to do with the lack of resources to dedicate to adequately train apprentices in their learning, as well as the administrative management that this entails due to excessively bureaucratic process here. And the second most important reason for their low participation is that they do not know the system well enough. In fact, main reasons why SMEs, especially small ones, are not willing to participate are inadequate information about the system and the lack of resources to assume all the requirements of apprenticeship models. At the same time, vet schools haven't got enough resources to dedicate to inform and encourage to participate in apprenticeship SMEs. Due to the high number of them, and because it's not the same to organize 25 apprentices in 25 companies than between 5 big companies, for example. So this is why Pimac is promoting apprenticeship models through various communications and dissemination actions. I'm at SMEs, among which I'm facilitating networking between SMEs and schools, for example, and we highlight vet congress and regional conferences to exchange good practices in apprenticeship training and involve SMEs as a training role in learning system. On the other hand, Pimac has been working to create a Communal Mentor. It's like a joint mentoring for companies as a recognized and formal role in dual vet system. This Communal Mentor or joint mentoring is a support structure for SMEs with the functions of informing and encourage SMEs in the same sector or activity or similar activity, coordinating the companies with vet schools, participating in the preparation of apprenticeship activities or their learning plans, monitoring the activities and other supporting functions in the mentoring for SMEs. And we are convinced that this is a very good solution because solves the main reasons why SMEs are not participating. And this initiative was approved by Catalan government in 2019. And currently there are some companies that are willing to participate, but assume 100% of the additional cost involved in joint mentoring is clearly an impediment. That's why Pimac was analyzing the options to find financial support with public funds. And finally, a few months before, the Catalan Employment Counseling has bet on financing this joint mentoring. This initiative is going to begin this year and is involving not only vet schools and companies and SMEs, but also employer associations. And we are sure that this will contribute to increasing SMEs participation levels in dual vet system on the next years. And it's a great success for us and for SMEs, of course, but especially for young people and their employment situation. Another recommendation to promote participation of SMEs is to introduce a certain degree of flexibility and new organization initiatives. In this sense, the Catalan government accepted some elements to give more flexibility to vet schools and SMEs in the design of the activities that apprentices will develop in companies. So this is good too. And since 2019, Pimac is implementing several projects who's called singular projects, supporting unemployed young people through guidance, orientation, and training skills needed by companies who participated in this project too, with apprenticeship training. And nowadays we are promoting 7 of these singular projects with very good results, and 460 young people and more than 400 SMEs participating nowadays. In spite of this, dual system in Catalonia is still incipient. Currently, not all vet schools offer this possibility yet, although its implementation is growing. However, there is a new vet regulation in Spain, an organic law, near to be approved, which is focused on increased apprenticeship training, specifically that all vet students do it in dual system. So it seems that we can reach out better results on SMEs participation in the next years. And finally, I would like to add that in all of these actions, we have the support of European Alliance for Apprenticeships with resources, networking opportunities, and apprenticeship supports, which are very useful for us and especially for SMEs. So we are very pleased to be part of this alliance, and I take this opportunity to congratulate you and all the team for the work you are doing, improving quality and effectiveness of apprenticeship. Thank you very much.
Sylvia, and really your work is so important, and we are really happy to have you be part of the alliance, and particularly the importance of SMEs. We cannot underestimate the obstacles and the support they need to make a change. And we have together with SME United and a draft from our national expert Bilal, we have done a little communication, let's say one pager about 10 good reasons why SMEs should invest in apprenticeship. I hope we can publish it soon. And so it's also a contribution to maybe to your work. And I really hope that we see each other in person in Barcelona. We have one event upcoming in Catalonia, but with COVID, I don't know. The decision will be taken on Monday. So I hope that we can meet in Barcelona to further discuss the apprenticeship system and all the efforts you do in Catalonia, in Spain, but also in your organization to support apprenticeship. Many thanks.
Thank you very much.
In the next slide, you will see that we have other activities, as I mentioned, related to this activity, the Social Partners podcast, which is coming up in June. And we will have a particular live discussion again, which we have already done last year. We had done a live discussion on employers last year, and also a webinar on intercompany training centers, But this year we also have a live discussion on cooperative practices to support SMEs in participating in apprenticeship. So now, priority number 3. Thanks. We move on. And now I have the pleasure to introduce a really very active member of the Alliance. This is Noelia Cantero. She is director of the European Association of Regional and Local Authorities for Lifelong Learning. And she will now also explain a bit her organization and how her organization contributed to our third priority, how to mobilize local and regional authorities. Noelia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes. Hello, Norbert. Thank you, Norbert. Thank to all of our EAfA friends for a very exciting program of activities coming up in 2022. and for recognizing the regional and local authorities as a key stakeholder in this process of discussing around apprenticeship. I would like, first of all, to thank the audience for being there, watching us online, for being following the session. And let's try to, if you are not already convinced to join EAfA, let's try to continue in that way of keeping you on board and trying to engage with all of you. My name is Noelia Cantero, and I work for the European Association of Regional and Local Authorities for Lifelong Learning. And I will try to be very brief about who we are and what we do so that we can concentrate in the most important topic. But please follow us online and check our website where you get further details about who we are and what we do. So EARLAL, as you can see there, is the only network of regional and local authorities focusing on education and training. Our members are regions and local municipalities that are very active in terms of social policies and lifelong learning, and who spend most of the budget in that. What we offer here as a network is interaction, exchange of good practices, peer learning, and what we also provide is a window for the regions to showcase all the innovation practices that they are carrying out at regional and local level. You will agree with me that with all the political discussion going on around skills and the importance of upskilling and reskilling the European labor force, the regions have a key role to play in that discussion, since we have the responsibility to accompany the citizens in the twin transition, and since we are able to mobilize the local stakeholder in a very quick way. Next, please. EARLAL is a member of the European Alliance for Apprenticeship since 2015, and we also joined the Apprenticeship Support Network a bit later when it was created. And we are very proud to be led by the first region that joined the Alliance, and that is the Basque Country, a region that also joined the Apprenticeship Support Services when it was created in 2019. As you will see, we have members in 9 European countries. Next, please. Our connection with EAfA are not randomly picked. We actually share a lot of goals and objectives, and the audience only need to have a look or to consult those 2 documents that we have published, our action work plan for 2022 and our activity report for 2021. And you will see that in our work plan for 2022, there are specifically 2 thematic priorities where the EAfA and apprenticeship are mentioned. We also promote EAfA to our member regions, and we would like to see more and more regions and local authorities joining the Alliance. Next, please. So to jump into the EAfA action plan, and in particular the priority 3 that Norbert was mentioning, we are not a random stakeholder. We have actually this priority is the result of a very fruitful and successful collaboration. And if you have been following EAfA for quite a long time, you will actually agree with me that since 2020, 2021, there have been quite a lot of activities focusing on the role of regions and local authorities to promote apprenticeship for all. And those 3 webinars that we organized and the high-level event are the result of many meetings and a very successful dialogue and cooperation with not only the European Commission and EAfA, but also with the Basque government and with our friends as well from the Committee of the Region, to which I would like to thank very much. The context in which the EAfA activities will take place and EARLAL activities will take place is very similar. You will agree with me that the pandemic has hit the labor market as this has never happened before, and especially it has targeted young people. And we, regional authorities, we believe that the apprenticeship are a key instrument to facilitate the transition from education to work, that it's a very good instrument to support youth employment. And this is something that has also been recognized by Commissioner Smith and by the International Labour Association. And we, the regions, have a responsibility to facilitate that the young people living in or at a local level have this access to jobs. So since July 2020, we have been welcoming all the initiatives that have been released by the European Commission and the European institutions, some from the skills agenda to the relaunch of the EAfA, the Pact for Skills. This is the kind of political context where we are moving at the moment. And finally, as it's also mentioned in the EAfA action plan, the Cities for Apprenticeship network that was launched last year will also have a space and will also be carrying out activities in 2022. Next, please. I was asked actually by the organizer. No, the other one, the trends before, please. Yes, exactly. We were asked by the organizer to provide the view of the regional and local authorities about how we see apprenticeship in 2022, what are going to be the trends and what are going to be the challenges. And they might come as no surprise to anyone, but these are the result a bit of the internal meetings that we have and the discussion with our members. So we believe that more and more we will see apprenticeship taking place in the twin transition, so apprenticeship for clean societies and in digital apprenticeship, but not only because new jobs will be created, but because all jobs will also be transformed and they will need new skills and new competencies in that respect. There will also be more digital support for the traditional apprenticeship. Another point that we would like to highlight is that we can predict already a more diversified cohort of apprenticeship, and this is something that the previous speakers also highlighted. So I read an article recently in the Spanish newspaper that said that 1 out of 4 of the vocational education and training students that have actually joined now vocational education and training in Spain are older than 24 years old. So that will also be reflected in the apprenticeship. And we hope to see more female apprentices in technical careers, and we hope to see more male apprenticeship in traditional female career like beauty or social care. The pandemic has affected the work to everyone, and teleworking has become the rule for many of us. So we think that they will also affect apprenticeship and that we will have to think about a more flexible provision. So some kind of more support from a blended ways of taking care of apprenticeship. We have also seen a movement from focusing too much in numbers to quality and effectiveness. This has been mentioned earlier. We have welcomed as well the Commission report on the implementation of the Council recommendation on a European framework for quality and effectiveness of apprenticeship. And I think we need to further work on a full implementation of that framework, because it's very important to avoid that apprenticeship become a way of unpaid work. At the regional level, we will see more and more apprenticeship focusing on specific sectors that are identified by the local or regional authorities as the smart specialization strategies, or the sector where they would like to focus their regional strategies for growth. Next. As challenges, and this might come, as I said, that's no surprise to many of you. There were some of them also mentioned last week in the conference that Norbert mentioned, organized by the French presidency about mobility of apprenticeship. For the regions, the challenges in terms of apprenticeship this year and the years to come are international mobility, especially long-term mobility, because there are many challenges regarding comparability of legal system, legal procedures, support for language mastering, and any apprenticeship that takes longer than 2 weeks is a real challenge. Then a second challenge that we see and this has also been stressed by the Commission and by the International Labour Organization, is to have the instrument of the apprenticeship as a transition from education to work, but not utilize this apprenticeship as a form of unpaid work. So this is something that needs to be stressed and have this focus on quality criteria. As it has been mentioned by the previous speaker, we would like to see at regional level the participation, a higher participation of the private sector. We are aware that of the difficulties that SMEs in particular have to participate more and to host more apprenticeship, but we from the regional level, we can also contribute, maybe try to lighten a bit all the administrative burden that they have to follow. And then as a result of the pandemic, we have also been discussing with our members about this possibility of having digital and virtual apprenticeship. It shouldn't be a way of avoiding having the physical person, but it should be an alternative to the physical apprentice. And of course, this comes also with many challenges to address, like the assessment of this form of work-based learning, and also the monitoring and the tutoring of this apprenticeship. So these are just a few of the challenges that we see coming, and yeah, we hope to give you a kind of a brief insight. Next. It will be very difficult for me to pick one of the many successful activities that we organized in 2020 and in 2021. Again, a big thanks to our colleagues from the Basque government, from the European Commission and the Committee of the Region. I think we have learned a lot. It has been given, it has been for us an example of what fruitful cooperation should be. We have exchanged many things, and we have learned from what is happening in many regions in Europe. And yeah, that's what I would like to highlight. And that's how, if I could convince anyone in the audience to join EAfA, it could be, this is just an example of a great and successful cooperation. And next, to finish my intervention, next slide, please. I would like just to have the same wish for 2022, as Stephen Hopkins was saying. I think we need to keep talking. We need to sit down, all the stakeholders together, to try to give some answers to the many challenges and trends that we have ahead. And once more, I would like to thank EAfA for considering the regional level as a strategic one. There you have my contact details if you want to contact me directly, or if you want to learn more about what we do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Noelia. This was really amazing. I'm touched, and I also agree the cooperation last year was really excellent. So many thanks to you, and also presenting your views on the challenges. My personal view is that there should be no activity without the involvement of local and regional authorities. That's for me something really I'm convinced. And you mentioned some issues like the greener societies. Be aware that also on the award we have a award criteria on the greening, so companies and apprentices. So you can put in some ideas there. Gender issues, it's an issue for sure. Today we don't have it. I think we have a lot of female speakers. That's great. At least from this event, we look at that. But also when it comes to apprentices, of course, it is an issue. So thanks a lot. We have not mentioned the cities network in metropolitan area of Rome, which has also been very successful last year. And we wanted to thank also Maria from the administration there. And Camila, I think, from the Basque Country was also always very active. So thanks, and let's continue our journey, and let's not again forget the local and regional authorities in the future. Let me come, this year we have some activities, but there were a lot last year, a bit less this year, but we of course will continue, where we also would like the live discussion coming up on persons with disabilities, to see also some practices and from the local and regional level. And when we come to the webinar on higher vet, that is maybe also an opportunity. Well, we look at the activity calendar again together and see where we can profit or have advantages to include you in the program. Let's move on to priority number 4. There is no ranking in this priority, so it's not because it's priority number 4 that it is the 4th priority. In a way, social partners for me are, of course, first priority. And I'm very happy today to have 2, again, female speakers. Robert Plummer from Business Europe, unfortunately, could not join us. So we have Agnes Roman, very well known, I think, for many of you, Senior Policy Coordinator from ETUC. And we have Lilian Wolonczynskis. Did I pronounce it well? I only call you Lilian. I'm sorry. For me, you're Lilian.
Correct.
Our Policy Director from SME United. And I'm so happy to have you both. Of course, I would have preferred to see you in real, but you're almost real for me now when I see your faces. Thank you.
Who should take the floor? Am I the first one? Okay, then thank you very much, Norbert, for your kind words. Let me start by saying SME United is a signatory member of the European Alliance for Apprenticeship. Already in 2013, at the very beginning, we have been involved in this initiative because we found it extremely relevant. Let me also underline that despite all the challenges we heard, craft and SMEs are the main providers of apprenticeship in Europe. And this is why, because apprenticeship remains one of the best pathways to ensure a successful transition from education to work, particularly for young people, but also to help employers to address their skill needs, as it was said by Noelia previously. We also, as SME United, participate in the bench learning process of the EAfA to implement the European framework on quality and effective apprenticeship. We very much support the European framework, which rightly puts a strong emphasis on the role of social partners to improve the quality and the relevance of apprenticeship. And the framework, European frameworks, define the right criteria for making apprenticeship attractive enough for both employers and learners, combining, as it was said, quality and cost-effective apprenticeships. And this framework should be fully implemented. I fully agree in all member states and by all stakeholders. I mean, apprenticeship is really a key means through which employers can acquire a workforce with the skills they need. It has been already mentioned by the previous speaker, Silvia Miro from Pimac, which is one of our Spanish members. And on the other side, learners can easily enhance their employability and their employment prospect, both in the company, but also in the company where they undertake the apprenticeship, but also in the wider labor market. And according to me, to ensure such a win-win situation for employers and learners, apprenticeship should be seen as an investment rather than a cost. And it will be better reached when apprenticeship schemes are demand-driven. I very much insist on this term, demand-driven. As cross-industry European employers, we have previously undertaken a project on the cost-effectiveness of apprenticeship and the factors that can encourage employers to invest in apprenticeship. And looking at the cost-effectiveness, one key factor really for employers is how much say employers have, not only in the design of apprenticeship, but also in the governance structure as a key consideration. And why? Because it's about the return on enterprise investment in apprenticeship. It will be better reached and reach earlier when, I repeat, schemes are demand-driven and when employers can first select the candidates as apprentices, contribute to curriculum design, and deliver parts of the training. Another key area is really the amount of training time in the company. It's a crucial factor to really improve, I would tend to say, the level of competence of the apprentice, but also his or her productive capacity, even during the training period. When we take into account the social and economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in particular the skills mismatch and the skills and labor shortages particularly faced by SMEs, SMEs remain one of the best pathways to overcome these challenges and to adapt, I heard it from the last speaker, to the new virtual reality. And this is exactly why social partners should be fully involved at national, regional level, but even at sectoral level in the governance. Social partners are really best placed to make apprenticeship more responsive to employers' and learners' needs. And also facilitate the involvement of social partners, facilitates a quick adaptation of curricula to new skills needs, in particular nowadays for the digital and the green transition. To conclude, because I don't want to be too long, many SMEs see an administrative burden, and we heard also from Silvia, bureaucratic process in recruiting apprentices or in training qualified workers to supervise their apprentices. As it was mentioned several times, public authorities at various levels, particularly regional level, but also chambers, especially skilled craft chambers, other intermediary bodies, but also social partners such as Pimac, offer a lot of non-financial support. It was mentioned, networking, mentoring, guidelines, toolkits, matching apprenticeship to companies to reduce this burden. And this is why SME United, we strongly support to our craft and SME national members, such as Pimac, the wider promotion, the mobility, and the take-up of apprenticeship all over Europe, because for us, it's fully part of the solution to increase really the quality of apprenticeship, the quality of training, and to have also a better skilled workforce. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Lilian. I will say a few words at the end. Let's move directly to Agnes, and then I will react. Many thanks.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the invitation. As one of the founding members of the EAfA, we warmly welcome the continuous excellent work of the EAfA. Workers' unions believe that the support to improve apprenticeship systems is more important now than ever. The COVID crisis is having a huge impact on apprenticeships. These were many times postponed, while in many cases they continued via home-based project work or simulations. But still, the dropout rates from the VAT schools and apprenticeships have been considered the highest among the education sectors. We see, therefore, that the COVID had an impact on how to ensure not only access, but also the quality of apprenticeships. This is why we believe that it would be useful to conduct an EU-level research on the real impact on the COVID crisis on apprentices and apprenticeships. The Council recommendation of the European Quality and Effective Framework for Apprenticeship has been mentioned by previous speakers, and we are very proud as workers' unions that this Council recommendation grew out from a trade union project and a social partner statement, and that it has been helping countries to improve their systems. The quality indicators as learning and work contract, fair pay, decent working conditions are essential to ensure that the apprenticeships lead to quality jobs. Apprentices should not be seen as cheap labor, as it was mentioned before. They need effective support to access the profession and to be employed. The framework indeed should be fully implemented. In relation to the European Commission's recent implementation report on this Council recommendation, our member organizations, workers' unions, discussed about the development of apprenticeship systems since 2018. And we regret to see in the report the low engagement of the social partners in designing reform programs on apprenticeship. The most alerting is that the answers of the governments and the stakeholders on the level of social partners' involvement differ to a lot of numbers. 70% of the governments answered good involvement, while only 30% of the social partners and stakeholders confirmed their involvement in the decisions. We thank the Commission to include both of these data to the report, which could help initiating honest discussions about the importance of social dialogue in improving the apprenticeship systems. Several of our member organizations also report that trade unions are less involved in some countries in discussions with the Ministry on apprenticeship systems than the employers are. We also have to take into consideration that in many countries, apprentices are considered as workers and they are members of trade unions. After their apprenticeship, their active role in trade unions can be an essential contribution to social dialogue on how to improve the system. This is why we welcome that the European Apprentices Network is to be renewed and trade unions take part of it. It is important that the youth sections and the youth committees of workers' unions play an active role in this network. We believe that this network has an essential role to bring the opinion and experiences of apprentices into policy debate. We think that it should be supported by an EU-level opinion survey among apprentices on the quality of apprenticeships, which should be discussed at high political level with the social partners. We are very happy that the Apprenticeship Awards and the VAT Skills Week will take place under the French presidency, and we welcome that the trade union membership and support of trade unions at company level are criteria to apply for the companies to the award. I would like to congratulate to the achievements of the Commission on EAfA and the excellent work of the apprenticeship team on bringing together the social partners and stakeholders on apprenticeship. The EAfA webinars on different topics are very useful and they help to bring together colleagues from different countries and sectors. We welcome that the 2022 work program on EAfA will focus on improving social dialogue and at national and sectoral levels. But at the same time, I think we should have, instead of lots of presentations, more occasions for discussion and exchange experiences and ideas, so free discussion among the members. And finally, we should really focus more on the impact of the COVID on apprentices. We could discuss indeed more on social dialogue, on the twin transitions and skills needs in apprenticeships, and inclusiveness and gender equality. Looking forward to working with you this year. Thank you.
Many thanks, Agnes. Many thanks, Lilian. I think the message was clear. Again, from my side, the social partners, European social partners, but also at national level, are key if you want to make progress. Many thanks for creating the links to the European Framework for Quality and Effective Apprenticeship. And because this is the basis in Europe, the framework on the common understanding of what we mean by apprenticeship and how they should look like, what we mean by quality and effective apprenticeship. So, and also thanks to linking, highlighting the importance of the European Apprentices Network, which is again a priority, which we come up soon. I'm looking a little bit at the time now. Allow me to be short, and thank you again for being with us and all these positive words, but also critical words in the sense that topics you would like to discuss further, and we will get back to that. And I just want to say that this year we are planning a live discussion on SMEs and the podcast, where I hope that you will decide who will participate on behalf of your organizations. A podcast end of this year on quality and effective apprenticeship. Now we continue with social partners, but now at sector level. And I have the pleasure to invite two important, if not the most important, sectoral organizations. I have on one hand Luc Triangle, who is the General Secretary of Industry All, which is really an important player. And on the other side, we have Delphine Rodelli. She is the Director-General from CMED, and also quite an important organization when it comes to sectoral social dialogue. So many thanks for having joined us today on priority number 5, where we would like to hear a little bit more from you, how you so far were involved and what are your ideas in relation to apprenticeship. Many thanks for joining us. Who would like to start? Sorry, I have not, maybe.
I think Luc is starting, but I mean,
Okay.
it's...
Okay.
Luc, will you start?
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Delphine. But thank you also, Norbert, for inviting us. And then I mean the social partners in the metal industries, Industrial Europe and CMED, for giving our sectoral input on the important topic of apprenticeships. So first of all, Industrial Europe, we are the European Trade Union Federation organizing most of the industrial, manufacturing and energy sectors throughout Europe. And it will not be a surprise if I say that apprenticeships and vocational education training is for us one of our top priorities already for many, many years. We also have signed, as Industrial Europe, already in 3 sectors in the framework of social dialogue, the pledges that was in the chemical industry in 2015, but also in the electricity sector and in the metal industry with CEMET in 2018. So why is it so important for us? Well, we consider apprenticeships as social partners, but specifically also as trade unions, as an entry point, an entrance to quality employment for young workers. And also, as already said by one of the previous speakers, it's even more important to focus on apprenticeships now, given the difficult situation for young workers in this COVID crisis. And secondly, why is it important? We are faced with an industry in change, an industry in transformation. The most important transformation is already there, and it's going to happen further in the next 10 to 20 years in the history of European industry. And for that, we need absolutely skilled young workforce, and we believe that apprenticeships is an important tool to deliver that skilled workforce that we need for our industries. We are happy to see that actually the mindset in Europe is also changing when it's about apprenticeships. Today, apprenticeship is finally seen as not a second-class option, but as a first-class option to step into the industry, to step into a job in our industries. This is also something where we as trade union have been calling for already for decades, that this indeed is not seen as something minor or less quality, but as actually a really important way of getting into quality employment in the industry. We're also happy to see that the European Commission is paying indeed careful attention to closely involve the social partners at European level. And also, as said already before, it's important to do that at European level, but it's even more important that the Commission also makes clear that at national level and at local level and at regional level and in companies, also there, it's the result of social partners agreements, social partners negotiation, consultation. So we believe that the role of both sides of the social partners in this debate is absolutely crucial to make it indeed also successful at every level. But that's not all rosy, I would say, because that's also the reason why we commit to a joint pledge with CEMET. There is an unequal situation, actually, when you talk about apprenticeships in the different member states. Countries most in need of apprenticeship, and then I refer more to, I would say, Central and Eastern European countries, are often also countries with less developed apprenticeship systems. So we need to have well-developed apprenticeship systems in place to make it happen. And also sometimes in these countries, we have less developed social dialogue. So there is still a challenge in certain parts of Europe, because we certainly don't have an equal picture throughout Europe when it's about apprenticeship systems and the way how social dialogue and social partners are involved. Secondly, is also a remark we have, it's the quality of apprenticeships. It's clear that this can only work, apprenticeship, if the quality of the apprenticeships offered and the educational system behind that is also functioning well. We therefore also promote the Council recommendation on quality and effective apprenticeships. We believe that this Council recommendation is absolutely crucial and also should be taken up by all partners and all countries. And then a third point is we shouldn't only focus on apprenticeships. It's clear it's one important tool, and it becomes more and more important, and it's also more and more seen as absolutely quality way of entering the industry and industrial employment. But it has to be combined also with a proper policy framework that supports industrial development, so industrial strategy, and the creation of quality jobs. So apprenticeships is good, but we also have to look for the way forward after the apprenticeships, because it makes no sense to bring people into the industry through an apprenticeship if they then leave the industry again because of other reasons, because of the quality of the job, so it's not then satisfying them and so on. So in conclusion, I think we absolutely support the EAfA. We are happy with the work done. We believe this is absolutely crucial for the future of industry. And we call for further involvement by the social partners in this whole process. And we are ready to continue to play our role at European level and also motivate and stimulate our member organizations at national level to take up also that role at national level or at regional or company level. And then I now am happy to hand over to Delphine, who certainly will contribute also from her side, from the CMET side.
Thank you very much, Luc. So I am indeed representing the employers' side, but only for the MET industry compared to the wider sector that Luc has mentioned for industrial. The MET industry, it's 200,000 companies in Europe providing 17 million direct jobs, 35 million indirect jobs. So it's quite an important industrial sector. I think you might be surprised to see how close we are with the unions on this topic, extremely close. So I'm going to try not to repeat what Luc has said, but I mean, I could honestly sign on what is said nearly 100%. And also after hearing Liliane and Agnes, I think that we have extremely similar view on this very important topic. When I was preparing this intervention, I realized that priority 5 was titled in a way that made me a bit smile, because it says, how can the EAfA proactively engage European sectoral social dialogue committees in apprenticeship? And in fact, I realized that in our sector, we were engaged in apprenticeship much before, as Luc said, before the alliance was created and before we committed with our pledge. Indeed, if I recall properly, I think that we started our discussion at European level with industrial on this probably some more than 20 years ago, which shows that apprenticeship in our sector is absolutely key. VET and apprenticeship dual learning system is, I think, the first topic that we discuss with the trade unions at EU level. So I think that this is just to put into perspective a little bit things, and this is also why probably we were so keen on being part of this alliance, as it shows that for us, this is absolutely crucial. It is true that for us, it was important to see that apprenticeship and VET more globally were taken seriously at EU level, as we had been calling for this for many, many years in our sector, as we think that it is the entry point into the labor market for quality employment, and we know how important it is. In many countries, I think that industry and the MET industry have even invented industrial apprenticeships, so it was for us a great success and a great evolution. But now things are not so easy, and we see that for industrial apprenticeship, we still have many issues. If you ask today our companies what is the biggest challenge ahead of them, of course there is COVID, which is a punctual problem because it's a bit new. It's in the midst of the dual transformation that they are going through, digital and green, but the biggest issue they are facing is skill shortage. And for them, one of the key solution is to find apprenticeship that they can train for the future. And certainly that explains why we decided together with Industrial to sign a new pledge, to renew our pledge, which we had signed already in 2017, to renew it in 2021. Because after COVID, we realized that there was a decline in the number of apprenticeship in our sector in many, many countries. And we wanted to gain a little bit more impetus at European level and also to promote this topic at national level. And we thought it was important also to support our members and to show that we were supporting them and that we could do actions with them to attract more apprentices in our companies and to make sure that we would have in the near future the necessary workforce. Because we have to keep in mind that if today we cannot fill the positions for industrial apprentices, then it means that tomorrow we will not have the qualified workforce that we need for our companies. So for us, it's absolutely a key topic. This is why joining the Alliance was important, because at national level, we realized that our members do a lot of activities that are in line with the Alliance. They do communication campaign, information campaign. They are having a lot of activities, networking activities, which relate, in fact, with all the things that we are promoting and supporting at European level. But I think that more importantly, and this is also in line with what Luc has mentioned, we have a diversity of situation at national level. And if some of our members are at the moment facing some difficulties that we know they are going to be able to overcome in terms of attracting apprenticeship, because the right framework is in place, it is important to notice that in some countries, the framework is not in place. And a lot of people before me have mentioned the recommendation about the framework for quality apprenticeship. But the thing is that we know that in some country it is not in place, it is not properly implemented. The social partners' involvement is lacking, and this is absolutely key. I think Lilian insisted, and it was right doing so, on the role of the social partners in the design and in the governance of apprenticeship system. And for us, it is key. These systems need to be in line with the needs of the labor market, with the needs of the company. They need to be market driven. And it is absolutely crucial that social partners at all levels, and particularly for us at sector level, are properly involved in the governance. Otherwise, we will miss the point. And this will be particularly true in the frame of the transformation that our company are currently going through, namely the digital and the green transition. We are facing this difficulty that we need to anticipate the skills, which mean that the system of apprenticeship be adapted. And if we don't adapt the system, taking into account the needs of the companies and the workers, well, of course, this is going to be critical in the very near future. So for us, this is something extremely important, that social partners are involved. One thing also that was not mentioned, but of course, we can also relate in our industry, some of the difficulties that relate to apprenticeship also relate to partly the image that our industry and sometimes the system of apprenticeship suffers from. And that's why at national level, there is also a lot of campaigning and a lot of discussion with secondary school, with the parents as well, in order to promote our industries, in order to promote apprenticeship as one way of excellence to enter the labor market, because it is a long-term battle that we have to put in place in order to make sure that this type of education is seen as a proper way to enter the labor market, and is not seen, as Luc was mentioning, as a second way, and so that parents consider that only higher education can lead to the labor market and to companies. So I think that the Alliance promoting all these good initiatives is a good tool for us to decline to the national level, and this is what we are doing together with Industrial, together with our members at national and with their members also in some countries at the regional and local level. And this is what we will continue to do this year and in the years after. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luc, and thank you, Delphine, so much for all your very kind words and very interesting points you raised. And I think, Luc, you said you see a change in the mindset. So in a way, all the efforts from your side, from our side, there goes in the right direction. So there is some progress. But as Delphine also highlighted, the challenges are there. If you look just on the supply side, I think the exception is France, where the numbers have gone up, but in Germany, for instance, the numbers have gone dramatically down. So it's quite a challenge, and also the digital and green transition. So I hope we have you, can invite you again for some even high-level events. The one we organized in the rail sector is still not decided, but it's prepared. But normally it should happen in March now in Austria, in Vienna. But I'm not sure that we can do it because of COVID still going on. I think we now move on to the last priority, which is, and again, not the last in the sense of ranking, it's the apprentices themselves. I'm very proud to have Ben with us today as a representative of the European Apprentices Network, where I had the pleasure to actually initiate it together with Obessa and the European Youth Forum already a while ago. And Ben, please tell us, where do we stand and how do you see the development?
It was going to happen to somebody. I struggled there finding my mute button. So thank you very much for having me. I'm Ben Kinross. I'm one of the Secretariat members for the European Apprentice Network, a collaborative network that brings apprentice representative bodies from around Europe and connects them with European organisations so that apprentices themselves can talk to decision makers about the experience that they have at work, in their education, and how they connect with society around them. So thinking about the trends and things that we're expecting to see this year, one of the things that apprentices are particularly talking to us about is the fact that they expect to see a continued use of blended and hybrid learning. Other speakers have talked about that. But our concerns there is that that creates a real differential experience and it's really dependent on connectivity. So just as you're kind of taking part in this activity, in this seminar, I'd like you to have a look at the technology that has enabled you to take part in this, the webcams, the Wi-Fi, the tech, the laptops, and consider whether you would have access to all of that if you're a vocational student, if you're an apprentice on what is quite frequently a very, very low wage. Apprentices have spoken to us about the fact that digital connectivity is going to be key to being able to making sure that they are able to participate properly and fully in the education and work that they're involved with. Secondly, in terms of things that we're seeing from our members, an increasing focus on sustainability and apprenticeships. One of the European Apprentice Network's representatives spoke at a combined CIDIFOP OECD conference, and she spoke about really understanding that it's very important that we build windmills and electric buses, but that it was also important to see how we embed sustainability within health and social care, within nursery nurses and early years provision, within administration, and making sure that the green industrial revolution doesn't simply funnel funding into opportunities for boys, but also makes sure that women's work is fairly treated in that new settlement. One of the apprentices said on sustainability, "I'd love to travel to work on public transport, but I don't live in a big city. There are buses, but I have to get my car to go to my second job because otherwise I won't get there on time." So I think thinking about the things that both trade unionists and Noelia talked about making sure that apprenticeships were fairly remunerated will be key to making sure that apprentices can connect into that digital and sustainability revolutions. In terms of things that we see as a challenge, as Norbert just mentioned, are holding steady on participation. Apprentices themselves are speaking to us about being worried about there being enough apprenticeships for them to be able to get into the labour market and have a job, which means that they can get into the industry that they really care about. And obviously, one of the things that the European Apprentice Network apprentices have really missed has been getting together. One of the things that we're definitely seeing is that there is an excitement about being able to connect together, being part of the EAfA family. The European Apprentice Network has regularly met alongside EAfA events, one of the apprentices said, and apologies for the informality, I'm so excited about this. It's fine talking to people online, but it is a bit boring, isn't it? I know I should be more professional, but I'm like really excited to be representing apprentices from my work. Imagine this, a plumber traveling Europe, talking to a chef and a travel agent about how our education works and why we should be part of the decision making. And that's one of the things that I think is really exciting about having apprentice representation as part of the EAfA family. And I just want to echo the things that Agnes said about making sure that trade union apprentices are part of that, as well. And then just to kind of finish off about kind of developments over the next decade, yes, apprentices are really excited about getting together. We're looking forward to our relaunch in Barcelona, having new members from different nations, from different countries, from new trade unions. That's going to be really exciting. It was really exciting when last year when the Irish government talked about their apprenticeship reforms, that apprentice voice was part of that, and seeing the connection between the effective apprenticeships idea coming from Europe and seeing that embedded at national level is really exciting. And over the last kind of year or so, I think the thing that has benefited apprentices most about EAfA is the fact that it has given the network an opportunity to connect in with each other. So when representatives from Saki in Finland were talking to decision makers there, they were able to get on the phone to Danes and Irish and German and French apprentices and say, this is what's happening with us. How's it working with you? And giving that space for networking and collaboration across Europe, and having that being the working norm, not just for people whose every day takes them to Brussels and whose every day has them involved with national decision makers, but also young people trying to influence the work, education, and society that they're involved in. And finally, the thing that one of the old hands on the network, Mateusz, said is he's really looking forward to the relaunch in Barcelona, because he's looking forward to the European Apprentice Network challenging EAfA members to say, how does apprentice voice impact the decisions that you're making in your institution, in your employer, in your organization? How are you making sure that apprentices have a space to talk about what's important to them and influence the decisions that go on around them? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben, and I really hope that we see the European Apprentices Network in life, hopefully in Barcelona. That is our plan. It has not yet been decided again because of Corona, but it will happen one day. It has to happen one day. And you heard from Agnes that also from ETUC that you have the support. You have the support from the European Commission. We really think that it is an important network, and we want to relaunch it. That's the idea in March, and maybe there are other opportunities then across the year to highlight the importance of apprentices. As I said, you have the support not because we have the European Year of Youth this year, but really because not also because you're young, because really I think because you're the ones you are concerned when we talk about apprenticeship, because it's about your own career and about your future. So let me finish now. I think thanks a lot, Ben, and I would like now to finish off and give the floor to my colleague Kerstin. Before I give her the floor, I would like to thank Kerstin personally for all her work, but also to Tamás and Tamás Vana, a colleague, also working in my team, for all the work, because to be honest, my career will end soon. So 1st of April, I will do other things than apprenticeship. And that's why I thought it's good to have Kerstin now doing the closing words, because she will be, as of 1st of April, your key contact person. Many thanks to listen to me today. And now, Kerstin, you have the final words. Thank you.
Thanks, Norbert. My name is Kerstin Torbenhagen. I've been coordinating the EAfA activities in DG Employment for the last 2 years. And I just wanted to say we will miss Norbert a lot, I'm sure. First of all, now I would like to give a huge thank you to all the speakers here today who have shared their time and their knowledge with us. It has been very interesting, and I'm of course very happy to hear that you find the EAfA so useful. Thanks. I would also like to thank our other 370 members for their efforts in strengthening the supply, the quality, the image, and the mobility of apprenticeships. We, of course, need you all. I'm also glad that 95% of you expressed that you were very satisfied with your membership in the EAfA in a survey last year. And with our action plan in 2022, we aim to get the same results in a member survey this year. And of course, all our knowledge sharing activities would not be possible without our excellent support service, who always is striving to deliver high quality. Many thanks to Vicky and the rest of the team. And next slide, please. So already at the end of next week, we will have a new EAfA activity. As Vicky mentioned, one novelty in EAfA in 2022 is a series of podcasts on different topics aligning with the 4 key EAfA objectives. We are very excited about the recording tomorrow of the first podcast called Apprenticeships: An Effective Pathway to Career Success for the Youth. It is with our Commissioner of Jobs and Social Rights, Nicola Schmidt. He will set the scene in the context of the European Year of Youth 2022, and he will address the benefits of apprenticeships and the role of key actors in providing quality and effective apprenticeships across the EU. And check the EAfA LinkedIn group or our website next week to see where to find it. And the week after, on 9th of February, we will hold a webinar, Apprenticeships and Permeability, to discuss the educational paths linked to apprenticeships and how apprentices can continue to higher education. Our speakers then will present good practice examples and also successful policy initiatives, as well as the challenges that still remain. And also, don't forget to register for this. You will find an invitation on LinkedIn and also on our website. And last slide, please. Finally, for those of you here today who are still not members of EAfA, I hope that this info session has shown the usefulness of the Alliance. If you're working with strengthening supply, the quality or the attractiveness or even the mobility in apprenticeships, you can join EAfA in 1, 2, 3. Step 1 is completing the application form. Step 2 is returning the complete application form by email. And step 3, follow us on the EAfA social media channel and sign up for our quarterly newsletter. And of course, also please contact me or the support service if you need more information. I hope to see you soon again, and not only virtually, but maybe some of you also in person in 2022. Many thanks for following.